The truck is up here back in the session. Are you counsel are present on your very right-hand side of the session? Our witness is back on the witness stand and is reviewing in relation to the examination.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so looking at your report, I'm going to kind of try and keep it in order from your report so you can follow along, make it easier. Starting on page 6, you started talking about your review of my client's vehicle, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And inside the report, you put up multiple figures, which are copies of pictures that you received as part of the packet of information you received from the government?
That's correct.
And also some of the figures would be stills of some of the presentation you also did for us here today.
Yes.
So on that page, figure 1 is a picture of the truck in question when the picture I think was taken in 2015 or something, correct?
Yes, I don't know the exact date offhand, but yes.
And if I can go to my computer for the overhead, it'll be exhibit 973. And that's figure 1, correct?
It's, sorry, let me back up here. Yep, figure 6, that's correct.
And this is when the back of the vehicle was white.
Yes.
There was testimony yesterday that at the time of 2010, this vehicle was a different color. It was gray in the back. And that'd be consistent with one of the images you found that you put in figure 3, correct?
That is correct.
And it was described in testimony Thursday that the metal and the paint job and the handles are all non-reflective metal. You familiar with that?
I'm not sure about what happened last Thursday. You'll have to help me.
So, are you familiar with the testimony that the metal latches are non-reflective metal?
No.
They're not chrome or anything like that. They're flat.
I don't know.
Then I want to show you what's marked as exhibit 969. This is a picture of a client's truck in 2010 or before when it had the gray back.
Objection, I assume facts not evidence lacks foundation.
Now established foundation subsequent to this, Your Honor.
I'll allow it subject to motion described based on the offer.
And you can see the front white cab and then the gray back part, the storage compartment on that, correct?
Yes.
That's clearly a poor quality video, would you agree?
Yes.
Probably the focal point is somewhere else other than that vehicle.
Objection calls for speculation, lacks foundation.
Overruled, the answer
It looks like a section of maybe something from a video clip, actually, because it looks like the image is what's called interlaced. So the lines that you're seeing there looks like interlaced, what I would call interlaced video. So this may be a frame from a video. I don't know.
Great eye. It is a frame from a video.
Okay.
Now you can see the driver's side window is reflecting some kind of light, correct?
Yeah, there's some bright spots there, yes.
Would you say the driver's side door is also reflecting light? Oh, why did that go? Why did that get darker? Light, oh, sorry, Sandy. The light is reflecting also off the door just below the side mirror, correct?
Yeah, there's lighter and darker areas on the truck.
Do you see any of that similar light reflecting off of the gray back?
Just at the rear, there seems like there's a little bright spot near the rear. I can see a little bit of light there.
Do you have the laser pointer up there?
Sure, somewhere.
Looks like a pin.
Just right here. Right here?
And when you're saying here, you're saying near the top of the, in the rear corner of the storage compartment would be about the top of the side here or above in that area, correct?
Yeah, relative to this image, yes.
Now also on big figure 5, which I believe is on the next page of your report, I'm going to pull that up now, which is exhibit 975. This is the Ferroscan 3D model of the truck, correct?
That's correct.
And this is taken from the perspective, or this image is shown from the perspective of somebody that would be on the passenger side and slightly in front of the vehicle.
Yes.
And so you can see passenger side door, that compartment, in the front of the car.
Yes.
It's not a perfect representation, but it's a similar side that the security video would be looking at the vehicle as it drove by.
That side would be, yeah, would be
That
presenting
side.
itself, sure.
Now, one thing that's kind of interesting of note is the front headlights, correct?
Yes.
The front headlights are recessed into the grille, are they not?
Yes, they are.
And the grille actually bows out between the headlights.
Right, so the front center of the vehicle is more forward than the sides.
And from this image, you really can't even see the headlight because the grille blocks it. Is that accurate?
Well, you can see part of it, but, I mean, part of it is blocked. Okay.
But from this angle, you're not actually seeing the headlight.
Objection misstates his testimony.
Answer if that's correct or not.
So I can see the headlight here. So I'm looking and I can see, it looks like I can see part of the headlight. So I'm not sure what you're calling the headlight or not.
I should say the driver's side headlight.
Ah, that's clear.
Okay, I correct. On the driver's side, you cannot see that headlight.
From this angle, correct.
The passenger side, you can see clearly.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to figure 8, which was also you placed in your diagram, or in your report on page 10. Go to figure 8, and this is exhibit 959. And from this one, this is where you did different measurements of the vehicle, correct?
Yeah, just general measurements, yes.
And these are using the 3D model Ferroscan image?
That's correct.
And from here, again, you can see that the front grille sticks out in front of the headlamp.
That is correct.
Did you measure how far that sticks out?
No, I did not.
When you did your analysis of the headlights and seeing them both on your playthrough, did you take into consideration the obscured nature of the driver's side headlight?
In the video, you can see both headlights, like you can see the actual light. So, and when you line the vehicle up with it, you can actually see both as well. And we're talking about light, so it's a little bit different. So when the lamp projects the light, it's actually bouncing off the side and some different things as well, and that's why we get the glare. So in the model itself, what I was looking at was only the glare of the headlamps. So if you're talking about like how far the grille was or something like that, I'm not taking that into account. But if you want me to go back to the video, my reconstruction, you'll actually see that you can still see both headlights.
Well, I understand you can see both headlights in the video. I'm asking,
I'm saying in the reconstruction, you can see both headlights in the model. What I'm saying is you can see them both at that angle. For example, this image you're showing me here, I obviously can't see the driver's side, and eventually if I move towards the back, I'm not going to see anything. So you have to represent the same angle and the same camera position in order to be able to say, hey, what I can and can't see.
So did you take the obscure nature of the headlight into consideration in your analysis?
Indirectly, yes, because it's in the model.
Now on this diagram, which is figure 8, you identified the wheelbase. What's
Yes.
what's a wheelbase?
We're just measuring from tire to tire. In
Front tire to back tire.
Yes.
So if anybody kept saying the wheelbase is the outside edge to the outside edge of the same axle, that's not a wheelbase.
Objection, misstates testimony, and is argumentative.
Overall, you can see what it
I'm calling the wheelbase here just the center to center is really what I'm calling.
And you got that as 131.5 inches, correct?
Yeah, it was just a general measurement because it wasn't really important to my analysis, so I'm just throwing down some general measurements for people to kind of get a feel for the size of the vehicle.
And it's approximately, that's a half an inch short of 11 feet, correct?
I have to do my conversion. I wish you guys would use metric, it's a lot easier. I'll take your word for it.
12 times 12 is 144, right?
Okay,
144 minus 12 is 132.
132.
That's 11 feet.
Okay,
So it's a half an inch short of 11 feet.
okay, great.
Agree?
I agree with you.
Okay. And then the total distance you have here is 213 inches in 0.1.
Yeah, that's just what came up. Now again, depending on where you take on the vehicle, like if you include the license plate or bolts that are sticking out, it's gonna change somewhat. So it's a general measurement, yes.
And on this picture here, can you identify where that side marker is that I described earlier before lunch? That's on the top rear of the storage container.
You mean the side light, the little light?
The little light.
It's up in this area?
And so for the record, it's at the left-hand side of the box length yellow arrow, right above the edge there.
Yes.
We'll go to figure 6, which is exhibit 957. This is the image, or the figure that you have. You did the measurements of the heights of different parts of the front of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And just not going through all of them, the top of the headlight to the ground was 38.5 inches.
Yes.
And the bottom of the headlight to the ground is 31.3.
Yes.
So the height of that would be a 7.2 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the top of the running light to the ground, that was not measured, correct?
Well, it's about the same. It's about at 31 there. There's like a small, very tiny space in between. But if you said that it was at 31 and the bottom is 27.4, you get roughly what that was.
Okay. So from the top of the headlight to the bottom of the running light, that'd be 11.1 inches.
Yeah.
Now the front windshield looks like it's going through a car wash. Could you explain why the image looks like that for the jury?
I'm only guessing that they did something to the front windshield because the laser doesn't scan glass. So when you have glass, it just goes right through. So I'm gonna guess that they probably put some powder on there, maybe some baby powder or something, just to make it more opaque, so that when they scanned it, they would get the actual geometry of the windshield. That's my guess.
Sure. Let's go to figure 7. This is exhibit 958. This is the same angle, but it's all the horizontal measurements, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So the horizontal measurements of the headlights, let's see, the outside of the headlights, you have it at 64.8.
Yes.
And the inside of the headlight, which is the inside edge to the inside edge of the two headlights, that's a 47.3.
Yes.
And the headlight width is 8.8 inches.
Again, depending where you measure in looking at it, so the housing actually is, I'm gonna say, it's not perfectly square like a box. There's a little bit of angles, so these are just rough measurements. So if you were to go back and measure it, it could be 6 point something in one position, it could be 7 point something in another. Yeah.
Now you also measured the outside wheel width and what's from one edge of the tire to the other edge of the tire, correct?
Yes.
And what was the distance there?
The outer was about 71 and a half.
Not 73?
Depending on where you take it again, this is just a rough measurement. So if the tire, if somebody took it from the edge of the tire and it was flatter or less air, it could expand another inch or whatever on either
76?
side. So.
Not 76, all right?
Well, I'm getting, we roughly got 71 and a half, so that's what I have.
I'll move on to figure 9, which is exhibit 960. This is the rear of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And this shows different heights and widths of items. Let's go. The ones I really point in on is the top rear light to the ground as you have is what measurement?
I have the bottom brake light height from ground.
Top of it to the ground.
Oh, I'm sorry, the top. It's just over 60.1.
And could you point to where that is to the jury so we identify what we're talking about? And then the bottom of that same rear light to the ground is how high?
That's 54.6.
And so at the top of the headlight that you testified to was 38.5 inches, and the bottom of that rear light is 54.6. The difference between that would be 16.1 inches. That sound about right?
So you're talking about the front of the back now?
The bottom of this back tail light
Mm-hmm.
to the top of the front headlight.
Yes.
Since the top headlight was 38.5, and the bottom of the back is 54.6, that'd be a 16.1 inch difference.
Okay, I see. Yeah, sorry.
So the headlight's here, tail light's up here, right?
Yeah, it's higher, correct.
And the height of the side marker, can you see the side marker in this exhibit?
It's a little difficult to see, but I think it would coincide with the right side where it says height from ground 62.2 somewhere. You can see, so you can see it on this side, but if you go to the other side, the opposite side, the driver's side, there's a measurement there, and there's a line that's coming off the top of the light. It's in about approximately the same area.
So what would you give that measurement to that side marker?
A little under 62.
So it'd be higher than the top of the rear brake light.
Correct.
We'll go to figure 10, which is exhibit 961. This shows the exhaust pipe and bumper kind of area, correct?
Yes.
Now, you made reference to this damage that is scanned on the bumper. You don't know when that damage occurred, though, correct?
I don't remember making reference to it, but I don't know when it occurred. Maybe I did, but I just don't remember talking about the damage.
On page 8 of your report?
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant in my testimony just
No,
before.
no, just in your report.
Ah, okay, yeah, sure.
I mean, there's damage there, but you don't know when it took place, correct?
Yeah, correct, I know.
So, since you don't know that, you kind of eliminated that fact from your conclusion. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, like I can't see the damage in the video, absolutely.
Perfect. So then you have the top of the exhaust pipe to the bottom of the storage container. You had that measured at 7.4 inches. Is that accurate?
Yes, depending on where you measure. So the pipe, because it's on an angle, one of the measurements we took, like if you look where it says exhaust end to ground, that's right at the end. And then further in, obviously it gets higher, the bottom of the exhaust pipe gets higher. And so the 7.4 4, I believe, was at the end of the pipe. So the very,
Outside in?
yeah, so the opening, or roughly where the opening is.
And so that same point to the ground, you put it at 13.7?
Yes,
So the total height from the storage container to the ground should be those two numbers combined, so 21.1 inches?
roughly, yeah.
All right. On page 11, you had the Google Earth map of the neighborhood, and then on figure 12, which I'll bring up, which you showed, was the exhibit 962, which is the faro scan of the neighborhood, correct?
Yes.
And when you look at the Google Earth on page 11, one thing that you found important to mark was the front porch camera and where it's located, where it's pointed, correct?
Yes.
Why didn't you list the side camera on the side of the house, channel 7?
Wasn't important for my analysis.
So you ignored it.
Well, there was nothing for me to look at, really.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Sure.
Now, in your report, it seems to say what is consistent with what you testified to. And your quote was, due to the poor quality of the video, only certain parts of the vehicle are visible, including the headlights, part of the rear end, passenger side, in parentheses, projected shadows on the road, and the exhaust tailpipe. Is that fair?
Yes.
And you then went to exhibit 15, which is that mark. So that's an individual frame of that video from the security camera, correct?
What is exhibit 15?
I don't have it marked, so I can't present it. But on your, it's one of the frames. You can see it on your page 14.
Yeah, so I have frames from the nighttime, from the porch camera, yes.
Right. It's just one of the pictures that you took, one of the stills you took from the frame, correct?
Yes.
And you can see both headlights in there, and you use this as part of your analysis.
Yes.
And I think I actually have exhibit 16, or excuse me, figure 16, a little bit different, which is 963. Same picture where you drew the circles around, correct?
Yes.
Now, looking at the close-up here that you made in figure 16 with the circles, it appears that the headlights are wider than they are taller.
You mean the glare?
Yes.
Yes.
And that'd be consistent since the height of the headlight was 77.2 inches and the width was 8.8, correct?
Yes, but it also depends on the shield that's, the housing that it's in as well.
But that makes sense, since it's a rectangular shape that's a horizontal rectangular, that's the same size or shape of the headlight.
Okay, yeah.
And I kind of calculate out the ratio of that to be a 4 to 5 ratio from height to width. Would that be fair?
Oh, the actual measurements?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
It sounds fair to me, sure.
problem with this picture is if you take the headlights and running lights together, they're 11.1 inches tall, correct?
On the vehicle, yeah.
But only 8.8 wide, so that's a 5:4 ratio in height, not width.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
The actual measurements on the vehicle, yes. If you're pertaining to the actual measurements, yes.
And you said in the legend of this figure, you described those as, for figure 15, which is the one without the circle. Quote, the headlights of the vehicle can be seen in this frame. Right?
Yes.
You did not talk about the running lights, correct?
Well, if you look there, there's one main glare of the, I'll say one main glare that's fairly large. And so you don't see two separations, if that's what you mean. And, well, there could be reasons for that. And one is that,
Sir?
yes,
The question was, you said I saw the headlights. You did not say running lights, correct?
what I'm saying is I see the,
It's a simple question.
Objection, argumentative.
The objection sustained to the explain the same thing.
so if the headlight is the light, so the light that I'm seeing from here has to do with the glare. So it's the light coming from the headlamp. And so that glare is obviously larger, as it normally would be if you have a very bright light that's staring at you. So that's what I'm saying. I tried to distinguish between headlight and headlamp. So the light is, I tried to stick with the light and then sometimes with the lamp. I don't know if I was all that successful, but I tried to distinguish between the two.
In figure 16 here, you put ellipses traced around what you call the main headlights, correct?
Yes.
Okay, next exhibit, which would be 964, is figure 17. In your report, again, you put the ellipses around the headlights, correct?
Yes, so those ellipses are around the headlights, and now we're looking at how they project onto the headlamps.
And so this circle is to show the lights coming from the headlight, which is the same shape, same circling area, and you're ignoring the running lights, correct?
Objection, argumentative.
So I'm
Overruled, you can't see that.
So I'm not ignoring anything. All I'm doing is I'm saying these ellipses are what the light appears to be. Like, so I do draw a circle around the glare, and then what I'm doing here is just looking at the vehicle and I'm seeing how they compare from a different angle. And it's one of the things you can do in 3D. You can mark them through the camera's view, and then I just move and I look, and I think I demonstrated that to you. I showed the front of the vehicle, if you remember, with the ellipses. And so that's what I'm comparing. I'm comparing the outline of the glare in the video and how they overlay to the front geometry of the vehicle.
Now, again, we talked about the distance from the outer edge to the outer edge of these headlights is 68.8 inches.
Yeah, I believe so.
And the inside width was 47.3 inches. Correct?
Yes, I believe so.
But your analysis of the headlights in the video saying the outside edge was approximately 70 inches.
It was bigger.
Objection, misstates his testimony.
Overruled, you can't answer that.
So the glare pattern on the outside, if you take the two ellipses, and on the outer edge of that glare, the main part of the glare was the 70, I believe.
And then the inside edge of that glare was 40.
The inside of the glare was 40.
So the difference between the actual trunk and the measurement of the glare was 1.2 inches. 68.8 from 70, right?
On the outside, yeah.
And the inside was 7.3 inches.
Yes.
So you're saying all the glare is in the middle and not centered around the headlight, correct?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying that's what is measured, that's the way it came up, and that's what I'm presenting. So if you want me to speculate on why that might be, because of the housing, whatever, I can, but I think I'm just presenting that's what it is.
And I'm just asking you questions about what it is. That difference from the inside is 7.3 inches, right?
Objection, asked and answered.
That's almost 20%, the actual headlight's almost 20% wider than that 40 inches measurement. Right?
Objection, that misstates his testimony.
40 inches to 47.3, that's almost a 20% increase, is it not?
Okay, it's 7 point something inches, yeah.
And you said, when I asked what was the criteria for exclusion, you said a couple inches would be that breaking point for this type of camera quality. And we're at 7.3.
Actually,
Objection, argumentative, and misstates his testimony between headlight glare and headlights.
yeah.
Objection sustained.
I didn't even ask my question.
Your Honor, can we admonish counsel to stop?
The objection was sustained, Mr. McGee, you can ask your next question.
If you said the criteria for exclusion for the distance of air on this video camera with this quality, said you would look at it to be probably a couple inches. When the court asked you that question, you gave them a distance, a couple inches. We're at 7.3 inches difference. Does that not fit the criteria for exclusion? That the headlamps are too far apart?
Objection, misstates his testimony between glare and headlight light.
Overruled, you can answer in the 20 seconds.
And I guess I'll just say you're focusing in on something that I didn't say. Actually, what I said, and I was hoping that this was clear, was that there's different criteria for different things that you can see. And so if we talk about something that is measurable, like the back end of the vehicle or the glare on the bumper, things that are more discrete, that's what the criteria is, because that's what we can see. We're talking about glare now. So the glare pattern from a headlight is obviously going to be obscuring what you see. And so the criteria for the headlight, I believe I said that it's something bigger. So we have to move to a different range on something like that. So if, for example, the headlights were, this vehicle was twice as wide and the headlights were outside of the ellipses, then I would say, look, there's a problem here. But all I'm saying here is that the ellipses and the way that the glare projects is consistent with the vehicle and the position of the headlamps as they are.
When you measured the 70 inch approximately and the approximate 40 inches, where were you measuring on, let's just say figure 17? Are you measuring the circles or are you measuring the edge of the light?
No, so the glare is the inside, the 2 points which are closest to each other on the inside, and the 2 points which are farthest outside of the ellipses.
So the light or glare, not the actual circles you drew.
The glare.
Okay. So if the glare is coming from a flashlight, wouldn't the glare be equal in both directions? So the center of the light would be in the center of those glares.
Objection, assumes facts not in evidence as to the positioning of the flashlight.
Sustained.
Okay, headlight. Okay. So if you have a glare from a headlight, would not the center of the bulb of that headlight be in the center of that glare?
If you look at a headlight pattern, and if you look at some of them, you'll see that, for example, the projection that's on the ground, they're not always equal, they're not uniform. You can see that they actually sometimes have a skewed position, so it depends on a combination of things. Depends on the lens, depends on the housing that's reflecting the light back. May even have, the outside housing may also have an effect if we're talking about these vehicles. Best way, if you wanted to know, would be to actually go and check it at night.
Smart idea.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show show you previously marked and identified as Exhibit 795. Play for you. This is a video of the truck at night taken by the Sheriff's Department. And when the truck is running at night, those parking lights, as testimony established, are always on. So you can see the glare pattern now of that truck at night, which includes the parking lot, correct?
Objection assumes that fact, not evidence, is the same camera and distance.
That would be the first comment actually is, if I was standing in front of the truck, this is probably, I'll take a guess, maybe 10 feet. It's a lot closer to the vehicle, so I could probably end up seeing it. The other thing that we have here is, this I'm gonna ask, but was this a cell phone camera or do we know what camera this was? You don't know, okay.
Let me ask you a question here.
Well, let me finish, please.
Let me ask
I'd
you
like to
a-
finish.
Let me ask you a question.
Your Honor, may I finish his answer, please?
You can go ahead and finish your answer.
Thank you, sir. If the resolution of the camera is much higher, right, then I'm going to get a lot more detail. So if I have, for example, an iPhone, or I have these phones have something like what I said before, like 3,000 by 2,000 pixels. Okay, I have tens of thousands more pixels to look at. If I take a security camera that's 704 by 480 pixels, I have a lot less. So you can see the effect here, how the glare is already blending in together. You don't see a separation between the headlight and the parking light. They start to blend together. So now we move back 40, 50 feet, and now take a low resolution camera, and now take also into consideration that the combination of the sensor that's probably on the mobile, this camera here, is probably a lot better than a cheap security camera. So the ability to detect the differences in lighting, okay, the dynamic range of this sensor in a security camera is probably really poor, and this is much better. So for all intents and purposes, I understand your point, sir, but this is a completely unfair comparison.
Simple question, sir.
Yes.
Did the Sheriff's Department or the prosecutor provide you the video that they took so you could put it as part of your analysis?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled if you
This video here?
Yes.
Yes.
That was provided to you.
Yes.
Did you include any of this footage or exclusion of this in your report?
I reviewed the video, and for the reasons that I just stated, it was not a fair comparison to include. It doesn't make any sense.
Wasn't my question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
My question was simple. Did you include in your report how you're excluding the use of this video?
I didn't say anything about this video in the report.
And I'm going to show you, which is Exhibit 969. Which is the still of that image, right? The glare pattern of that headlight does not appear taller than it is wider on the driver's side.
Again, this is not the same image that we're looking at, so if you put this under the exact same conditions, we may find something else. If you're asking me about this specific photo under these conditions, then I'll say that the length and width may be approximately close.
Let me ask you this, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You compared the security video to a Faro laser scan, right?
I used the laser scan as part of the reconstruction. So yes, there's a comparison there because I overlaid the laser scan to the video.
Is it clear from this image that the parking light on the passenger side wraps around the side a little bit?
On the passenger side, at this distance and in this photograph, you can see it does extend further. On the other side, if you look at the driver's side, it doesn't appear to do so as much.
All right, I'm going to show you what's exhibit 974. Which is those two images side by side, so we're not going off of memory.
Objection vague. Which two images?
It's going to be figure 15 and the picture I just showed you, which is 969. So exhibit 969 and the image that you put in your report, correct?
Yes, so the lower image is one of the frames. Yes, and then the top, I guess, is a still from the video that you were showing.
Let's start with the driver's side. The driver's side in figure 15 on the bottom, it rounds in, correct?
Yes, it does.
And it goes down to a shorter distance on the bottom than it is in the middle and the top.
Sir, you're comparing, I have to say this, but you're comparing two images that are completely different. So I will answer your questions, but just understand that this is not a fair comparison. You're comparing apples to oranges here. So we can go through this, but...
I object as non-responsive and move to strike.
Overruled, he can explain his answers.
My question was simple. Is the bottom picture, the headlight, bend in on the driver's side, become more narrow at the bottom than it is in the middle and the top?
Yes.
Okay. Now the picture on the top, you can see the headlight part starting to bend in like it's more narrow, but then there's a parking lot light that bumps back out, correct?
Yes, and if you're trying to compare the two images, it's an unfair comparison.
I've heard you say that 10 times.
Well, I just want to make it clear.
I understand. Let's go to the passenger side. Again, the bottom rounds in, correct?
Yes?
And the bottom left part of that is further in than the side of that light.
Objection. That calls for speculation and is not relevant given the answers of the previous answers of the witness about the comparison.
Overruled, he can answer.
Sorry, could you just repeat the last question?
Yeah. On the passenger side, the headlight. It comes in more and rounds in, and it's in further than the outside edge of the middle of the light.
In this frame, yes.
But on the picture above, with that parking light wrapping around, it sticks out significantly. Would it be fair to say, yes?
I don't know what you mean by significant, but again, you're comparing two images. I agree with you. It's sticking out in a completely different image.
I agree. We're comparing images of two separate vehicles. I get that.
No, you're comparing images of two separate scenarios. So again, you have a different camera, you have a different position close to the vehicle. Those will all change what you are seeing and the clarity in which you can see it.
So you're saying there's no way that parking light would ever show up on that security video?
Objection. Argumentative.
Overruled, he can answer.
It may or may not. What I'm saying is that what you're showing me right here, okay, doesn't. And the way to do that would be to do a test. Drive the vehicle by, and if you had, I don't know if the same camera's in existence, but drive the vehicle by at night and see what you get. That would be a very fair test.
So when you saw this video and said, well, that's not a fair comparison because it's not the same camera, did you say, Sheriff's Department, DA, do a proper comparison. Go down and drive that truck at night in front of that camera?
Objection. Argumentative.
Sustained.
Did you ask for a fair comparison? You say that this is not represented.
Objection. Argumentative assumes facts, not evidence.
Sustained.
Did you ask for this truck to be driven in front of the camera at night?
Objection. Assumes the facts, not evidence that the camera exists or can be recorded in the same fashion.
Overruled, he can answer if he makes such a request.
I did not ask them to go drive the truck, no.
you're not willing to say that the running light is missing from the security camera footage. Question, you're not willing to say that the running light is actually missing from the security camera?
Okay, it's a question. I wasn't sure if it was a question or a comment. What I'm saying is that it's quite likely that it's not detectable, is what I'm saying. So it may be on, but we can't see it. Or it may be off, and that's why we don't see it. Or it could be a different vehicle, right? So there's different scenarios there.
Second scenario, I can tell you there's testimony from Sergeant Ryan Smith that says the lights cannot be turned off with headlights on.
Objection argumentative.
Second one's limited.
Overruled.
So it's either A, not detectable, or B, not the same vehicle.
Objection. That assumes facts not evidence such as the bulb burned out.
Overruled.
Now that is argumentative. Object to that.
Both of your comments are argumentative and should be reserved for your closing arguments. If you have direct questions you want to ask, you can ask those. Save your comment. Both of you save your comment, your arguments for your closing arguments.
How much did you get paid to sit on the stand and testify today?
I haven't been paid yet.
What was your quote?
It was, I believe, budgetary was about $4,000 for the travel and everything.
How much? So it was only 4,000? Or was it 10?
The testimony, the travel and testimony was 4, the report and the reconstruction was 10.
So 14.
That's what I budgeted, yes.
And when were you first contacted to work on this case?
It was somewhere about after the, I don't remember exactly, 18th of February, so it was about a month ago.
And when did you submit your report?
March 3rd, I believe. Yeah.
9 days ago. You shaking your head yet?
Yes.
I'm going to show you from your report figure 24, which is exhibit 966. And that is that superimposed Faro scan of the frame 77, correct?
Yes.
And in this photograph, we have the shadow that's from the security camera, correct?
I don't know what you mean. A shadow from the security camera?
Like this is the security camera footage of the shadow on the ground from like the rear tail light to the rear of the vehicle.
Yeah, correct.
Let me show you, we'll do them both together, which is exhibit 966, which is figures 24 and 25 combined. Okay? These are on the page of your report, correct?
Yes.
Then the outline that you drew on figure 25 on the bottom here, that's not based on what you're seeing in the shadow, is it?
No, what I'm doing is I'm projecting the, it's a trace of the shadow that was seen in the Faro scan data and projecting that on the roadway where the video is.
So that's not saying what you can see, that's just saying that's the projection you caught from the rear analysis of the Faro scan and the lighting situation.
Objection. Mistakes his testimony.
Overruled, and if that's correct.
So again, just to clarify, so the outline is what we see on the Faro data, so that's the outline that, or like the trace that we did on the floor. And then what this is it's an overlay relative to the vehicle. So it's in the same position that the vehicle is. As I move the vehicle, the trace will move
Can we have
with
the
it.
lights go back down? Because we're having an exhibit on that display.
So just to be clear, it's a trace from the scan. It is proportional and to scale with the from the laser scan data. And then what I've done is, based on where the truck was, I can just say, well, this is where the trace is projected.
And so you're not saying that you can see any of those details in figure 24 where you saw the shadow from a trailer hitch or a shadow from the box. You're not saying any of that detail seen here, correct?
Correct. So now I understand. I might understand your question. So that trace that's there is not from. I didn't trace the video, right? It's an overlay of what we measured someplace else, and then overlaying it in the video. Correct.
So it shouldn't be understood as, oh yeah, we can see all that stuff here too.
Correct.
Perfect. Now, the side marker light that we talked about earlier at between 61 and 62 inches above, that can be seen on these images, right?
Yes, because I'm superimposing it on top.
Correct. But it is, where they are superimposed, it would be under the awning and not be caught on the security camera for the security footage.
Correct.
So it'd be impossible to see that marker on this footage that you analyzed. Would that be fair to say?
It appears it's blocked out. It's out of the view.
And also the rear tail light can't be seen on the security camera from this angle as the vehicle would have been driving by.
Yes, it's on the back side.
So no light in the rear of the truck overlay is directly seen on the security video.
Correct.
Now let's go to that rear illuminated area. Then on page 26 is where you're dealing with 25 and 26, where you're dealing with that illuminated spot, correct?
Yes.
Figure 28. What this might be, which is exhibit 968, is a 3D model overlay on frame 77, correct?
Yes.
And you explained the illumination that you see on page 26 of your report, correct?
Yes.
And you said there's a small reflection or illuminated spot which appears on the side body of the vehicle in the video. It is difficult to say exactly where the source of illumination originates from, but this spot lines up most closely to one of the handles on the rearmost passenger side compartment. Correct?
Yes.
And you're saying it's not a light, right? It's a reflection.
I'm calling it a illuminated spot. So it doesn't appear as a constant light. And I think I demonstrated that as we were cycling through the frames. You could see it sort of got bright on one frame, then it got dark, and then it kind of re-illuminated again, and it got really bright near the exit.
You're not saying it's a light, but a reflection illumination.
That's what I'm saying, because there doesn't appear to be any lights in the vehicle at that position.
And you're aware that the latch is made out of non-reflective metal.
Objection assumes the facts, not evidence, that it actually is in fact non-reflective.
Well, I don't understand what you mean by non-reflective metal. What does that mean?
It's not chrome or anything that's going to shine brightly.
Well,
Flat-
if
flat
it's,
metal.
okay, but let's just be clear here. If it's metal, if it's painted or not painted, it will reflect light.
Right.
Okay,
it'd be
so when you
flat,
say,
right?
when you say non-reflective, I just want to be clear, like, do you know?
Okay.
Okay.
So if light is reflected, then the light has a source, right?
Yes.
And if you know the shape of the object that's reflecting it, you should be able to trace it to the source, right?
One would think so. I mean, if you had an accurate account of the geometry of the object, might be possible.
Now, in your background, you talked about things you do, and I looked up to see what you're actually good at. You're very good at recreating scenes of accidents and like officer-involved shootings, right?
Yes.
And so you will take video images of a situation, place people in them, and then, oh, if there was a gunshot, then you will do trajectory lines through the image to show where someone was standing, where the bullet traveled, all that.
Depending on the case, I could potentially do that.
And then you would formulate that 3D model, and then you would rotate that model around to show the different angles so you could see where people are standing, what their viewpoint would be, all that, correct?
Yes.
I'm gonna have you go to your computer. Let's see if we can recreate and find where that light source is.
Okay.
The court want to take a break now, or?
Sure. We'll take our afternoon recess, 15 minutes. Keep in mind the admonitions previously given to you, not to form or express any opinions about the case, not to discuss the case. We'll see everyone.